Hi, everybody. This is Carrie Mubarak at wooingnature.life, and this is the full moon view for May 7th, 2020. We have a Scorpio full moon, and this is a transformational powerhouse, to say the least. Everything has been leading up to this moment, as always, and getting ready for it has been all of our preparation, to be honest with you. We are all making serious changes in our lives. The way that we see things, our perspectives are changing. The way that we do business is changing, and the way that we do work, the way that we're working is changing. And so this moon, which I'm sorry, I'm still doing work while I'm talking to you, but this moon that is coming through today has been really something else, has really been something else. And I've had a few people to call me and say, hey, I'm really feeling this, I'm really feeling this full moon, what's going on? And I told them, I said, transformation, transformation, transformation. So I'm going to take a look at where we are with the moon right now. I'm just going to pull up a couple of things that I always go to when it's time to look at the full moon. And the first thing is AstroSeek. I really like this website. It's pretty nuts and bolts, but it does give you the list of full moons and new moons. So if you go to AstroSeek, astro-seek.com, I'll try to make sure I put that in the description box. Then it'll tell you all the full moons and all the new moons, and it'll also tell you your other moon phases as well. And then you can pull up the chart. So I'm already looking at it, and I know that this moon is in 17 degrees of Scorpio. And so I have been really interested in the Sabian mysteries and the Sabian interpretation of the degree status of the planets. And so I've been going to jamesburgess.com. There are other ones too that have quick references and resources for the degree of the moon. And then you just go to the sign, and then you go to the degree, and it tells you what's going on. So at 17 degrees, we would bump it up to the 18th degree. It's talking about self-transformation. It says we can raise ourselves to the level where we are the ones who decide and determine what will occur. And that is really the precipice of change that we're collectively in right now. We can decide individually and collectively what changes and what things are going to happen next. The economy is shot. Many people have lost the lives of people very dear to them. That will take you through a change in and of itself. People have lost children, parents, brothers, sisters during this global health crisis that we've been going through. And so now we've had economic stimulus. They're talking about stimulating the economy again, which means we're in trouble, folks, as far as the economy is concerned. And I'm not saying that to create panic. I'm saying that so that you will understand that we're having to stimulate our economy over and over again. And that means that things are going to look very different in the world of commerce. Things are going to look very different in the world of work, and things are going to look very different in relationship to how we work and what things are then of value to us, because our values are also not changing, but we're really getting closer to what our values really are, to what we really value, what is really important to us. As we read further on this site, and again, this is jamesburgess.com, the cyclical nature of life is beautiful yet somewhat imposing. It gives no choice about whether the winter is coming or not, yet for the truly free and realized being, even this is a choice. Options become available through self-determined creative mind that simply cannot be grasped as possibilities to an imprisoned mind. So we are freeing our mind space. It's time to free up in here, because it begins here. And then being able to be creative, to employ our creative aspects, our creative thoughts, our creative processing, getting away from the status quo. What we have known to be the norm up until this point is no longer applicable, and therefore we don't have to keep it. But what we have to do as a collective is position ourselves to make that decision for the collective, and we are the ones to do it. We are the ones to do it. So it begins with the self, of course, always. It begins with the self. So if you're thinking about the full moon and what the full moon, the energy that any full moon brings to us, which is about illumination, it's about looking at something that may be hidden, something that we have not dealt with, but to shed light on it. It's like shedding light in the dark, literally. Shedding the most light in the dark. And so if we look at that and we look at it in relationship to this transformation, what things, what issues, what barriers, what hang-ups, what obstacles, inner obstacles need to be brought to the light so that it can be healed, so that the transformation can happen. So that transformation can happen for you personally, so that transformation can happen in your relationships, so that transformation can happen in your workspace, and so that transformation can happen in your for your nation, for your country. So it starts with the self. We already know this. This isn't new information. But what this moon is doing is it is saying now is a time for you to put a full focus, to turn your attention and to what needs to be transformed internally. And then how can you, as an actualized human being, how can you then be about creating the change that you want to see globally or nationally or within your community or wherever that applies. Okay? So that's the energy of the full moon. In looking further, again, I'm going back to the chart of the moment. It is sitting directly across from the sun, of course, because when you have a full moon, you have an opposition between the moon and the sun. They're sitting opposite, or at least that's what, that's the way we think about it. So the sun right now is in 17 degrees also, but of Taurus. And so when we look at the sun's energy, and I'm going to just scroll back here to 17, which then would be 18 degrees Taurus. It talks about emptying the mind, clearing the mind. So this would be a great time for meditation. This would be a great time for examining the thoughts that you have that may or may not represent where you're trying to head and where you're trying to go next. But it's about clearing the mind. It said distortions of thought, belief, and habit are purified through meditation and open-mindedness. So it's time to be open. It's time to be clear about what's important. And I think that COVID-19, for all of the damage and all of the sacrifice of human life that has happened because of it, I think that the one thing to be gained from it is that this time that we have all had to go in and be still and be quiet and come away from some of our busying activity, it has certainly, for me anyway, and I think for a lot of people, it has really gotten us closer to what is really important to us, what we truly, truly value. And what we value is revealing itself too at this time. And how appropriate, because we're talking about the full moon. Some other planets to think about are Pluto. I've been talking about Pluto on the YouTube site for a little while here and there to talk about what that's all about. Again, there's some changes in relationship to commerce, which we know because the economies have changed, and some people are, trying to figure out what they're doing with their stocks. They're trying to figure out what they're going to do with their money and how they're going to invest, or if they're even going to invest. We're now talking about being on the verge of a depression, so we don't know what's going to happen with the economy at all. But Pluto is making changes in that area, and the degree status has a lot to do with spirituality and commerce, and where the two meet, and how we are bridging that which is spiritual with that which is material. See, in the past, what we've been focused on is just the material. And now we're moving into a time where we're being more considerate of our spiritual selves, what is ethically correct. And I know that there's also been a lot of talk about certain companies that are pushing products during the COVID crisis, and people are calling them out on it and saying, hey, wait a minute, this is a crisis of global proportion. We want to, pull the card for those people who are using it to capitalize. We don't want people capitalizing off of the lives of these people who have, lost their lives because of this disease. And so this makes us think about business, how we do business, whether or not we are going to go back to doing business the way that we have been. Everybody has been saying this is the new normal. Things are not going to go back to the way that they used to be. And so this whole element of change is in various places. It's showing up in various places in the astrology of this moment right now. So clear your mind. If you want to think about focus for today's full moon, then what I would say is do some meditation this evening, clear your mind, and then do the meditation this evening. Focus on what it is that you value. Think about what you have learned from this experience, being held in or closed in or on lockdown, or whatever it is, being quarantined, social distancing, that kind of thing. But think about what you have learned about yourself. Think about what you have been valuing within, who you've been connecting with, what relationships have become very important to you, or which relationships have you been surrounded by, where your support system is. These are all good things to think about for the full moon, and especially a full moon with transformative energy. And then, of course, it's good for those of you who are at that point, you've already done that work, for you to think about where you're going, where you're headed, where this now catapults you, where your trajectory is now, and prepare. So it's always good to do some preparation during this time as well. So continue to connect with the moon and get in touch with your lunar cycle. Lunar cycles allow you to be in touch with your intuitive side. It awakens your intuitive side. It connects you to that which moves you intuitively from a visceral level, from just a body level. The moon moves the water, and it moves the water in you. It moves your moods. It connects you to your subconscious. And so if you want to start to live your life intuitively, if you want to start having a more intuitively led lifestyle, then I always recommend that people connect to the moon, because the moon will start to get you in that place. As always, you know what I'm going to say. I hope you have a great full moon, and I hope you're having a wonderful life.